So welcome everybody to our first session of our Power Platform Lunch and Learn series. This is the first of many. We're very excited about the future of 2024. Us, meaning us and Proficient and Microsoft for our valued customers. The goal of these sessions is to build a community of Power Platform users to come together on a bi-monthly basis to learn, to share, to collaborate, and obviously best understand best practices. So we have a wonderful session planned. We're going to be talking about Power Automate today. So the agenda today is we'll talk about Proficient as an introduction, who we are, the manufacturing trends. We're going to go over the Power Platform as far as an overview standpoint. We'll talk about Power Platform use cases in manufacturing, and then we'll walk you through a Power Automate case study and demo. And then we'll have time for question and answers. At the end of today's session, we will invite you to share your business challenges and join our Power Platform community. So we've got some wonderful speakers here today. Very excited about the team we have here at Proficient. So I'm going to introduce them for you. First, we have Kevin Espinosa. He's our manufacturing lead here at Proficient. He's a director. He has worked at Caterpillar for 33 years, holding many positions, including digital marketing and product owner, where he managed a division and was responsible for the implementation, development, and support of CAT's digital marketing ecosystem. So we're excited that Kevin's joining us, and Kevin's got a lot of good stories to share. So thank you, Kevin. We also have Eric Schmidt, is also a director here at Proficient. Eric has 20 years experience in enterprise systems development. He's focused on helping companies make the most of Microsoft's investments and focus on Power Platform. Eric has overseen the construction of over 40 enterprise Power Platform solutions and has a variety of clients in various industries. And finally, myself, I'm Brian Cusick. I lead our Microsoft portfolio sales and cloud-based solutions for our enterprise customers here in the manufacturing sector in the Southeast. Just a little bit about Proficient. Proficient is based in St. Louis. We're $1 billion in revenue, close to 8,000 colleagues with onshore, nearshore, and offshore locations, 40 global locations around the world. We have a 20-year history with Microsoft being one of their top solution providers. We do everything Microsoft. We're quite proud of that. Last year, we were 2023 Microsoft finalist of the year, something I'm very proud of. And you'll see a lot of top 10s and top this and top that. Very proud of the great work that we do and the partnership that we have with Microsoft. And I also want to thank Microsoft for supporting this and co-sponsoring it. Jim Lathrop and Jenny Simon, thank you both. And so with that, I'm going to kick this off to Kevin. Thank you, Kevin.
Well, thank you. And thanks for everybody for being here. So like was said, I came from Caterpillar after 33 years. I retired, wanted to basically take my skills to other manufacturing companies. And so that's what I'm doing now with Proficient. One thing about manufacturing that I've noticed, after spending 33 years at Cat, I was probably a little jaded at, how fast we were moving at Caterpillar. Now that I see kind of a breadth of manufacturing clients, it's all over the place. It's from A to Z. And when you look at some of the industry expertise that we have documented here, where the maturity of some of the manufacturing clients are, is again, all over the alphabet a bit, from a sales and marketing, supply chain, connected data, and smart manufacturing commerce. I think some of the unique things about manufacturing is, it's industry inside of industries. I'm sure a lot of you right now are experiencing a lot of those those industry expertise that I just kind of mentioned. You're going a little bit through sales and marketing, through connected data, smart manufacturing, but where you are in that maturity level is all over the place. So it'll be kind of very interesting to talk about that, as we progress in this lunch and learn, if we can share some experiences on that. But, from a Proficient perspective, we have a lot of expertise in the manufacturing world. Caterpillar, where I came from, is one of the major and probably one of the biggest clients that we have. Also on here that we don't have on here, we have almost every automotive OEM. So you name one, we're covering them. So we get to see kind of the breadth and share that information with you, which you'll hear today from Eric. So he has a lot of good experiences in the manufacturing world. I think one thing that's unique about Proficient, and I can say this from a former client perspective, is they have the industry experts. They not only have the Erics of the world who are experts in specific platforms, but they also have industry knowledge. So whether it be automotive or manufacturing or banking, they hire those people to kind of bring that expertise to you. So that's a good thing. And I think that you can ask some questions about that. One thing that we're really seeing from and these aren't all the trends, this isn't all inclusive, but these are some of the major trends that we're seeing. First thing I have to say, just to compliment this, this lunch and learn, there's a ton of process automation going on in manufacturing, especially, just going for some of my experience. I was a surfer. I did service operations for 2 years at Caterpillar. So I would go to all of our dealerships in the US and monitor their service operations. Everything from checking in the machine to invoicing. And you can only imagine the process automation that came in from that. It was all about getting the machine in as quick as possible, clearing that bay, and getting paid as fast as possible. So we did tons of process automation at Caterpillar, not only around operations at the dealership, but also internally from a manufacturing perspective, and also from some of the touch points that we had with our customers, like contact centers and customer care and things like that. So there's a ton of process automation that goes on at manufacturing, and you guys could probably name several yourselves. But, Industry 4.0, that's another place where, process automation is coming in on the plant floor, where you can, kind of optimize some of your processes on the floor. But there's a lot of technology that's going on the plant floor, from Internet of Things. Everybody has connected products these days, and those connected products go all the way down to the plant floor and how they're actually performing, and the optimization of your manufacturing processes. Another big kind of trend is D2C, right? Direct to consumer. B2B companies are really starting to turn the corner and thinking about going to direct to consumer, which opens a whole host of challenges, right? From channels, when you're stealing from each other's channels, and some of your brand partners get a little upset at that. How you pay out your partners. And what we struggled with when it came to direct to consumer was, who was the contact at your end customer. When we were a B2B company, we didn't have that kind of information. So that was one big challenge that we found, not only from a technology, how you deliver that, but also who you're trying to reach out there from a public perspective when you're trying to sell something. So that was a tough challenge for us. And then reshoring, reshoring, my boss would just kill me if he heard me say this, but it was a little bit of a product of COVID. He hates the word of COVID, but when they had all the kind of the transportation issues with getting products from foreign countries like China, and everybody was buying kind of their own cargoes in the cargo ships, etc. People started looking at bringing all those products back to the United States. And that's a huge movement that's going on in manufacturing right now, is reshoring, and opens up a whole host of challenges and cost, right? It's nice to have your products back in the States, but it's very, very expensive to do that. And then sustainability. Sustainability is really interesting, right? That can be both a really good play of, kind of looking at the environment, going green, using new products in order to manufacture, but also consumers expect this. And a lot of consumers look at how manufacturers are playing in the sustainability world. And if they don't do it, some people make their choices based on that. So this plays not only from a manufacturing perspective and making good decisions, but also from a brand perspective and how consumers think about you as a product. So Eric, I'll let you take it from here. I think you have the next slide.
Thanks, Kevin. So Kevin talked about transforming operations with automation in Industry 4.0. So what are some of the areas where Power Automate specifically can help you innovate? So we have 3 categories here. The first category is reducing manual tasks to help to increase productivity. The second is to integrate systems and improve visibility. And the third is enabling you to customize your workflows to meet unique needs. So going a little bit deeper on reducing manual tasks, we have a lot of people in our organization. They still spend a lot of time basically doing manual data entry. Maybe they get an invoice in their email and they open up the invoice, in a PDF, and then they open up a mainframe screen, and maybe they're keying in some data. So there's still a lot of manual work like that in our organizations that we can help to automate. So we can build bots, RPA bots, to help reduce that manual burden on some of our teammates. We can also use the tools that we're going to talk through today to help to improve, to integrate systems to improve some of the visibility and communication between our systems. For example, we can create workflows to import data from e-commerce platforms into your inventory management system or perhaps a CRM system. So there is a data orchestration aspect of Power Automate. We can also create workflows that trigger on specific actions in your organizations that are specific to your department or your part of the organization. So do we have a new order? Do we have a canceled order? Do we have a change of address? What are some of those key workflows in our business? And how can we use Power Automate to help to manage those workflows and help to provide the automation of manual tasks? So we're here today to talk about Power Automate. So Power Automate is just one part of the Power Platform. So we also have Power Apps for web and mobile application development. We have Power Virtual Agents for chatbots. We have Power Pages for building websites, what are essentially extranets, and everyone's familiar with Power BI. So today, we're going to spend our time on Power Automate, and in future sessions, we'll likely go through the different Power Platform products in more detail. So when we talk about Power Automate, it's more and more sort of like an umbrella of products or capabilities. So when we put a number of these capabilities together, what we have is an intelligent automation platform. So we have tools that help us in discovery, and we have tools that help us, in construction of our workflows, and then we have basically bots that help us do automation. So we're going to spend a bit of time today, since this is our first conversation, on process mining. So process mining is a way for us to basically ingest event data from our major systems, from our systems of record, and it's going to help us to render basically a process map and information about the processes. So when we go into an organization and we want to do some automation work, oftentimes in the past we'd go in and we do interviews, right? We'd say, where does your process start? What are the conditions that your process has? Where does your process terminate? And we have conversations with people about their process. And as you know, oftentimes you have these conversations and then you go and you look at the data and you find that not a lot of the information that you were given up front was correct, or there's a lot of data that was missing about the process. So process mining is going to be a data-driven exercise. And we're talking about mining the data. So we're going to use the solution basically to parse the data. And based on that data, we're going to get a process map that we're going to be able to analyze. So we're going to actually show you some of that today. Task mining is another discovery tool in the platform. So this tool allows you to basically record the interactions that a user is having on their desktop, right? So I'm interested in figuring out how somebody is working with their SAP instance or some sort of an order tracking instance, and I want to know what they do all day long, because I know they're interacting primarily with the system. I can run this task mining software on their machine, and it can generate reports for me as to what they're doing and what's taken longest, right? Where are the bottlenecks? and then we can look at the reports and we can figure out how to automate some of those tasks using the RPA tool, which is called Power Automate Desktop. So the Power Automate Desktop, they call it desktop because it's a bot running on your machine. So we'll cover this tool in future sessions, but the bot that's running on your machine is basically performing manual tasks on your behalf. So that's a capability in the platform. And we also have Power Automate, which is our cloud-based digital process automation tool. So in that tool, there are 1,000 built-in connectors that allows us to do drag and drop integrations with basically any third-party system that you can think of. So if you have an IT ticketing solution in-house, an inventory management solution, if you interact with a software as a service, chances are there's a pre-built connector that will allow you to do a drag and drop integration with that third-party service without writing any code. We also have a growing set of AI tools in the Power Platform. Those tools are called AI Builder. So in future sessions, we'll talk about using some of the tools in AI Builder to do things like help to automate the processing of invoices. So going back to process mining here, this is a relatively new product in the Power Platform. So this was generally released in June. If you have previously been looking at deploying a process mining tool like Celonis, the Power Platform now has a competitive product in this area. It was announced this summer at a Microsoft Inspire conference here. You see Sadia referring to process mining as the tip of the spear to drive additional value to every customer interaction. So there's a bit of a fanfare here over the summer as this rolled out. So in terms of where process mining is useful, like I said before, everybody sort of thinks my process works a certain way, or at least the process was designed a certain way, and there's a certain expectation about how these things will operate. But then once we get in and we start talking to people and we look at the data and we look at some of the history, generally actual processes are a bit of a spaghetti monster, right? So we'll show you some visualizations of this coming up. So how do we understand our processes? In addition to speaking to people, what are some other ways that we can do that? So we can use process mining basically to study the data. So it's a data-driven approach basically to process discovery. Using the tool, it's going to help us to basically decompose the process, figure out what's the primary path in our process, what's the path most often taken through the workflow, and what are some of those outliers. As we learn more about our processes, we'll show you some tools here that allow you to help to identify bottlenecks. So basically, where are the points in the process where you're losing money? And similarly, what are points in the process where after mining the data, we see that the process is repeating itself, right? It's going back, it's looping back, we're having things rejected, right? Oftentimes we're wasting money in those scenarios. So the tool can help us to identify bottlenecks, and it also can help us identify situations where we have our processes going outside of the norm or basically compliance deviations. The types of processes where running process mining is valuable tend to be our very large, important processes, or processes that potentially have a large number of users and that are critical, right, to the business. Being that we're generally, process mining important processes, there is a lot of opportunity here to find value. So some examples here you see on the slide of areas where you can use process mining. There's procurement workflows listed, accounts receivables, orders management, procurement, accounts payables, accounts receivables, order management. So again, a lot of these processes are very complex, and these tools can help us to understand them. So today the process we're going to talk about is an order to cash process here. So in the example we're going to pull up, we're representing that there's been an export of data from SAP that has data that relates to the order to cash process. So this process mining tool, like we said, it's data driven. So in the background, it has information like an order ID, stage, a start date, and an end date, right? So we have sort of like a history table or an audit table, basically, that we feed the process mining tool. It parses it, and then it renders this visual. All right, so this is Power Automate process mining. So you see here we have a process map, excuse me. All right, so the first thing you'll notice when we look at the screen here is that we have a clear flow sort of our operational activities. So this started with a log file. We ran it through the tool and then it generated this. So again, we haven't sat down and interviewed anyone and done some diagramming. This is something that is done by the tool. And you see here that the process starts with an order confirmation, and it looks like we're ordering a bicycle. So we're confirming an order for the bicycle. We're checking our inventory for parts, or we may pull from already assembled models. If it needs to be assembled, the tool is tracking some workflows here. Send parts in for engineering, pull parts from inventory. Then our bike is built. We have a quality check. Eventually, the bike is packaged and shipped, and then our order is marked as complete. So this is, our process here that was mined. So not all of the orders basically follow the same process. So there's a tool here that allows us to see the different variants. So we see that 31% of the orders processed, you see down here, this is where we mined 200 cases. 31% of those followed this process, and then 20% followed this process. So this is helping us basically understand what's going on and the deviations. Perhaps as we're reviewing the material, we see a couple of these variants that really shouldn't happen. Maybe this helps us to flag some problems. So again, this is a tool for use, basically by an analyst, right, to help them understand the process. We're looking for bottlenecks here. So I see mark as order complete takes a while. So if I'd like to, I can drill down into some additional detail here. I can see the count of items that hit this particular process. I can see how long it took. There's some information in here about rework. So I can do some manual digging and I can apply filters to this. I can see what happens for a mountain bike versus a speed bike, or what happens for a kid's bike versus a mountain bike. So we can apply filters on our data to look at some of those nuances and help to understand those. But we're all busy in the day of AI, and we don't have time to look at everything in detail. So we can rely on the Copilot tool in Power Automate Process Mining to help provide us with some insights. So we're going to go ahead here, and this is a bot, a Copilot bot that we're interacting with. We're going to go ahead and ask it to provide us with top insights. So it's going to parse our process mining map a little bit here. It's working on it. Live demo, of course. All right, so the Copilot has completed processing of a process here, and it's saying the longest running activity or bottleneck in the process is conduct quality check with a total duration of 1 day, 2 hours, and 29 minutes. So what is going on, quality check department? I'm going to give you a little call and dig a little deeper about what's taken so long, and is there any way that I can help you to sort of speed up your process. You have the tools you need, you have the data you need, etc. The activities with the most repetitions are assemble bicycle and send parts to engineering. These each had basically 10 redos or reworks. So maybe we have a quality problem at that part of our process that we need to go investigate. And then we have some deviation information here. So let's ask an initial question: how to identify my bottleneck? So here it's giving us some instruction here. We can go look, it's suggesting we go look at the activity statistics table and find the activity with the highest total duration. So again, there's some data here that we can dig into, but we don't have time to do that. We're all busy. So we'd like AI to address our bottleneck for us. So we're going to go ahead and click on address my bottleneck. And here, the tool's going to basically suggest a Power Automate flow to help us to correct the bottleneck here. So you see in natural language, it has generated a description of a flow, and it's also suggesting a Power App that can help to facilitate our process. So as we go through and we analyze our processes and we find areas where there's bottlenecks or gaps, or maybe there's not like a form or automation type of solution, maybe we can create one to help facilitate that part of the process. The tool here is going to help us do that. So I just clicked on create a flow. And you'll excuse me one moment. All right, when we click on that flow here, we're brought to Microsoft Power Automate. And that description of the flow was inserted here. It's a description of what will our flow do. So basically, it's the tool's going to use some generative AI capability here to create a Power Automate flow off of this description. So we're going to create a flow that automates the process of ordering parts. The flow can be triggered when inventory levels fall below a certain threshold. So it's described basically what is our process going to do, and then how is that going to be triggered. So it's going to go ahead and generate a skeleton of a Power Automate process for us. When a row is added, this is the trigger, right? And then it's suggesting some conditions for us, and then it's suggesting that we send an email to help to automate the process here. So then we go ahead and create the flow, and this isn't going to work 100%. We still need to go in here and add details. But the flow generation here can certainly help to speed us up. So you see there, it's generated Power Automate flow, and we can go ahead and enter in the information here and fill out our conditions. So that was a bit of a crash course, if you will, in Power Automate process mining. So how does process mining fit into Power Automate and the Power Platform in general? So you see here we have a continuous improvement cycle, or what Microsoft calls a flywheel. So we initially have the option to use process mining for discovery, right? So we're exporting data from our key systems, such as SAP. We are running the process mining tools. We're doing discovery, right? We're generating that process mining map, and then we're studying the data in there. We're looking at the analytics, and we're using Copilot to get sort of insights into our process. We're reviewing the recommendations. There's some Power BI components to this as well. And then when we find some of those bottlenecks or some of those holes in that process, we're filling those holes with Power Platform solutions. It may be a Power Automate workflow. It may be a Power App that's a form to facilitate the collection of data. with some Power Automate workflows in the past, in the background, excuse me, or maybe us doing some systems integrations. Maybe we're creating a bot with Power or maybe Dynamics instance. So once we sort of enhance and optimize the process, we let that run a little bit, and then again, we can export the data, run it through the process mining tool again, sort of validate that our changes will work, validate that we've gained some efficiencies, and then the process repeats itself. So really, there's a continuous improvement cycle that the tools help to enable. So one of the sort of neat new things the last couple of years, and I believe it's going to get a bit bigger, so to speak, this next year, is the ability to do SAP integration onto the Power Platform. So we, in addition to building Power Automate workflows, we can extend SAP solutions with Power Apps, so the data will be retained basically in SAP. But what we have is we have SAP connectors that we use in Power Automate and Power Apps that allow us to do SAP integration generally without writing any code. So if we're updating work order status or we're querying information out of SAP to support our Power Automate processes or our Power Apps, we have the support to do that on the platform. You still need some knowledge of SAP, of course, figuring out where stuff are, but we can more and more do SAP integrations without writing code. So it's very cost effective. So just to recap here, Power Automate is an intelligent automation platform that consists of multiple products and capabilities. Power Automate process mining is one of 4 core capabilities that we discussed. And it is a first step that we can take in setting up an automation program and sort of figuring out how we're going to tackle optimizing some of those key processes in our organization. So we don't necessarily have to use process mining. But it is advantageous versus, going through and interviewing people, whiteboarding, talking to different people, maybe getting some opinions, right, on how the process runs when we do it from the data perspective, from the data sort of ground up. We know how it works because that's what the data says, right? Process mining enables organizations to identify their inefficiencies and accelerate the digital transformation of their processes. So if you think about what we saw on the tool, we can, after we get the data, we can sort of quickly ingest the data into the process mining tool, and then we can use Copilot to quickly ask what the bottlenecks are, right? So it's a really quick way for us to understand our processes and for us to sort of pinpoint inefficiencies. So it helps us to understand these complex processes again by creating that visualization. As we understand the processes and we understand the bottlenecks and we understand like where there's reworks or gaps, maybe as we look at the process, it's taken a day because somebody's doing 4 hours worth of data entry. So we can help to optimize and automate those processes, those sub-processes, if you will, through the creation of Power Platform solutions. And then once we've created those Power Platform solutions to optimize our process, we take it to through that flywheel again, and we can sort of implement a repetitive cycle or an incremental improvement type of solution. So what are some ways that we can get started, learning more about this technology and maybe getting a couple of quick wins in our organization? So if you don't have one already, I think a great place to start is helping to define your organization's goals for an automation program. So, what do we want to automate? 50% of manual activities in 4 departments. Are automation goals very specific to a particular process, like, provide X amount of savings in an order to cash process? So really, what are our goals from a high level, right, from an executive level? And understanding those goals, where do we start? So maybe we have ideas of, maybe 10, processes where hypothetically we might want to use process mining, just a brainstorm session there. And then maybe we sort of think about those a little more, and we get that down to 3 processes, right? And we figure out what would have the highest value, what's the highest perceived value, in these processes where we should mine them. And then there's a technical aspect for this. How are we going to get the audit logs or the history logs out of the source system? So sometimes there might be some data transformation. The data needs to be sort of clean, right, for us to import it into the process mining tool. So how are we going to do that? And then is the organization comfortable with using the Power Platform? Do we need any Power Platform governance conversations? And then just in terms of a strategy and a high level, how are we going to analyze and sort of distribute the findings of the process mining activity? There is some environment setup stuff, if it's not set up already, that you need to go through. So after you've done that, you have basically a process mining candidate or 3 candidates here, and then you go ahead and do the process mining. Part of working with the tool. It's not necessarily 100% of a technical expert. You're probably going to want to sit down, right, with the business subject matter experts to work with them to help to identify, to understand how the process works, and help to understand where things like the bottlenecks are valid, and where it's sort of costing the most money, right? So we're working hand in hand with the business in our proof of concept. We're identifying areas that we can optimize the process, and then all those great things we find out, and all those solutions we can create with the Power Platform to help with automation. Then you can go ahead and roadmap those out.
Great job, Eric. So,
Sure.
to our next session, we'll be taking invoice processing with Power Automate in December. So the invoice process is something that every company does, but many still are doing it manually. So a great opportunity to learn, or a beginning or a starting point, or something that you could realize a lot of value quickly. We also want to get feedback from this session. We want it to be something, again, the intention is to build a community, and all of you today are founders of this community. So this is something we're excited about for 2024. We're going to send a survey out, so please respond to the survey with your thoughts and feedback. We know this is the first. We want it to become more interactive, and we're even talking about things and topics like even having office hours separate from this to have technical conversations, or just, hey, this is my problem, this is my challenge, or this is what I'm working on, can you help me? So we're talking about that as well. But we welcome all those suggestions. If there's anything you have specific questions, please feel free to reach out.